And joining us now is Dr. Philip Dolce, Professor of History and Chair of the Suburban Studies Group at Bergen Community College. Professor, welcome.
Good to have you.
So, Professor, you're studying the suburbs.
Yeah.
Why do we need to study the suburbs? Don't we know everything that we need to know about the suburbs?
Well, because we're now a suburban nation. More people live in the suburbs than in urban areas or rural areas. And I don't think we've come to terms with that in any significant way. So I think we have to do that. So what we're trying to do at Bergen is combine teaching with civic engagement and professional development. When we talk about the suburbs, we're talking about where these people live. But it has a wider meaning, it has a national meaning, it has a regional meaning.
Biggest misconception about the suburbs?
Biggest misconception is the image of the suburbs as a white nuclear family, and that's what the suburbs are. Look at any suburban movie. It's about a young nuclear family, no older people.
White.
White, absolutely. But if you look at the suburbs now, there are more immigrants living in the suburbs than living in cities. There's more multiculturalism in the suburbs than there is in cities. And the image has not caught up with the reality. And that is a real problem.
So how are the suburbs different from the cities now? You sound like you're describing cities as we know it.
Right.
Well, the interesting thing is, how are they different? One great difference is when we look at this, when we look at the image of the suburbs, it's about a nuclear family with young children. Young people are no longer, a lot of young people are no longer interested in living in the suburbs. They grew up in the suburbs, they're now living in cities. And I'm not just talking about New York City, I'm talking about Hoboken, Jersey City. Sure. Young people are living in cities. We're not attracting them. And the most interesting thing is the people who are living in cities that we didn't think were going to live there were senior citizens, empty nesters. I hate that term.
Well, let me follow up on this. The other part about the suburbs in New Jersey, by the way, there are 567 municipalities. Am I wrong?
God bless you. You're right.
And 611 school districts.
Right.
500.
Some of them without schools.
Thank you. But the other fascinating thing about suburbs, these little small communities outside, take the big cities in New Jersey out of this, is that the concept of home rule. We live in this suburban community because we want to have our own police department, our own fire department, our own school system.
You got it.
We would like you to share services, the government says, to reduce property taxes. Some might argue that that's the way to do it. Come together with the other suburban community, and New Jersey and in other places, but particularly New Jersey. What's the reaction from based on your research?
Well, first of all, you've hit the nail right on the head. Why? Because New Jersey is the most suburbanized state in the Union. And you have to connect the image of suburbs with the image of New Jersey, both of which are terrible.
And by the way, back up. New Jersey is the most suburban state in the nation, and Bergen County is the most suburban county in New Jersey. Go ahead.
All right. And what happens here is it's not just, we don't have suburban leaders. We have community leaders. So we elect people who are the mayors of communities, and their job is to protect the image of that community. Well, if you really want to see something happen, you have to go beyond the community. You have to have an image of suburbs beyond that, shared services being one of them.
So in Bergen County, excuse me, in Bergen County you have 70 communities.
That's
70 suburbs, well, I got some cities, but pretty much 70 suburban communities.
Right.
How much do they want to come together and cooperate?
Well, they see themselves as separate entities, as though they're separate, and that's not good. I mean, you have to realize, when you look at a city, First Avenue, Second, efficiency was everything.
Right.
Suburbs were developed not with the idea of efficiency. I mean, you know, you have all sorts of things that are inefficient, but they were built for a certain reason, at least residential suburbs. Now we have to say, how do we share? And you start with that is, it's not efficient. I'm not interested. You develop relationships. When you met your wife, you didn't say on the first date, listen.
First or second?
Whatever. But when you met your wife, I talk about my own. The first thing you do is not say, you know, this was a pretty good first day. How would you like to get married? That's much more efficient
yes,
than going
very
through
efficient.
this courtship.
But it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
And sharing services only occurs when you develop relationships.
Got it.
And why? Because as you know, when you have a relationship with a friend, when things go sour, you have something that's resilient there.
Right,
but if you only have shared services and no relationships,
a quick divorce.
A quick
Okay,
divorce.
well, listen, you're doing a program on
Minute
or
left,
will
Ralph,
be
go ahead.
doing in a minute. Music in the suburbs in a minute. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, what we like about that is one of the things we're looking at is the image of the suburbs, because that is as important as the reality of the suburbs.
Absolutely.
You have to get rid of this false image. And one of the questions is, do creative arts depict the suburbs or use the suburbs? Now, when we look at motion
Few seconds,
pictures,
go ahead.
yeah,
Do they get it right?
yeah, music gets it right because, and this is what I'm interested in, it is an environment that helps music, garage bands, etc.
Right.
So we want to look at the positive, not just the negative parts of suburbia. And so music shows us that suburbia as a community has helped to develop music.
Well, I'll tell you, important and interesting research is going on at Bergen Community College. Dr. Dolce, Dr. Philip Dolce, I want to thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
It was
Thanks
my
so much.
pleasure.
That's it for this particular edition of Capital Report. For my colleague, Rafael Puerman, who does not live in a suburb, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.